The story of the space program of Israel is a very unique one. It's different from many other R&D programs that we had. In this case, we did not have the infrastructure neither to the development of the satellites nor to the building of the launchers. So after deciding that we should be there one day, we had to build a very, very preliminary infrastructure in order to enter into this area. And in this case, we were very, very different from what Russia or the United States were doing so far quite successfully. So this was the beginning of the program. There was no question about who is going to develop the launchers. It was the IMI that was an expert in building motors for launching many other rockets. But there was a competition between Rafael and the IAI, the Israeli aircraft industry, as for who is going to develop the satellites and who is going to be the prime contractor of the whole project. At long last, after many, many debates and soul searching, it was decided that the IAI will be the leaders of the project, and IMI was given some of the development part and Rafael got another part. And of course we had to see to it that the optics, the optronics will be available. So Elop industry was given the job of developing the telescope, which was again in this case developing it from nowhere, from scratch. Now here, when number of satellites are in space, Israeli satellites, when we have all of the knowledge and we have very, very good results, not only for electro-optic satellites, but also synthetic aperture radar satellites, it looks simple. It was very difficult to get there, and the opposition that were not only from the technology point of view, but also from the budgetary point of view, were very, very difficult to surmount. We had opposition from the IDF because they were afraid or sure that we will not get there. They were afraid that budgets will be eating the best part of their budgets, of the IDF budget. And in the beginning it was tough to persuade the ministers of defense, the prime minister, that we know what we are doing. Now, there was another very important aspect, and this is concerning the safety and the security. We could not afford to launch our satellites eastward, because if something wrong will happen, it will fall down on an enemy country like Jordan, like Saudi Arabia, like Iraq, and this we cannot allow. The limit of the weight of the satellite was dictated by the fact that we had to launch it westward and not eastward. And by launching it westward, you lose a lot of energy because it's against the turn of the globe. And this gave us a minimal leeway to put into this tiny satellite, to put big enough camera in order to get some results. So all in all, we were confronted with a number of challenges that every one of them could ruin the whole project. If you combine all of them, it needs a lot of courage, a lot of determination, and a lot of chutzpah in order to go on. And this is what we did. We entered into this launching of satellites quite cautiously. So the first satellite was an optic satellite. It was a satellite that could benefit from the solar panels. It could get orders, it could transmit information, but not electro-optic satellite. And of course, in addition to it, it was even smaller than the 250 kilogram that we were allowing the first optical satellite to be. And it was successful. So the next step was to go on and develop and build the full-scale satellite and put it on the launchers as was planned. But then 2 successive failures came up, and the failures were in the launchers and not in the satellite, and 2 of our satellites found their way to the depth of the sea, the Mediterranean, and then we were left to close to nothing. What we did is that we had to decide after the second failure of the launchers and after the very deep analysis that we did, trying to find out what were the reason for these failures, we still had 1 launcher that remained, and we had 1 satellite that was not supposed to be launched. It was a satellite, a dummy satellite that we were using in testing the systems that we did not want to put on the real satellite in order not to cause any harm to the real satellite. So this is what we got, and the moment of decision what to do, either to go back and develop the launcher and launch the launchers without any live satellite. That was one option, and the other option was to try and revive the existing satellite and make it operational and pray. And the moment of decision arrived, and we had to decide what to do. I remember this moment even today because it was tough, and the bucket was here with me, and I couldn't deliver it neither to the general manager of the Ministry of Defense nor to the Minister of Defense. The decision had to be mine, and at long last I decided that we'll risk launching the satellite, and we'll risk taking into consideration all what we found about the failures of the launchers and launch it. And this was how we arrived to the few weeks before we could launch this OFIC 3 satellite. The road to the launching day was still long, and on the way we had problems with the big radars that were to follow the launching, and we had problems with the weather. We had to be sure that the day will be clear in order to ensure that the launcher would not turn either to Tel Aviv or to Ashdod. So it had to be a clear day, and the period was winter, so we had to find windows of clear days in order to do that. And some of the fear of foreign satellites, Russian and American, that were spying the area, and we were afraid that they will note what we are about to do. So all of it was done, and we had to make one decision after the other in order to arrive to the day of the launching. This day arrived, and we were all in the launching area. I remember that before the launch itself, I went to the place where the Air Force people were working, trying to take care of the safety angles of the launch. And the very experienced pilot engineer, Giora, was called from the reserves in order to be the safety officer. And I was there and gave all of them the blessing and the hope that we will do succeed this time. And the countdown went on. Now, when we got to 10 after many times that we had to stop and see whether everything is okay, by getting to minus 10 seconds, the countdown is automatic. And it went down, and we are holding our breath. And then when it was 2, there was some shouts on the intercom from the Air Force. Somebody said, "Hold it, something what happened?" And the manager of the experiment, of the IAI, who had the hand on the button, on the red button, did not press the red button. It gave it go. And then it was 0, and up we see the launcher with the Israeli flag on it, going up and up in the flames. And the first stage was dropped down, and it still goes on. And then it was up in space, and we had to rush to the IAI MBT plant where the space station was, in order to wait for an hour and a half until it was to appear on our sky. It were tense 90 moments. I remember that I went right away to the Minister of Defense, and we were sitting in the room of David Ivry, the General Director of Ministry of Defense, and we were waiting for a word. And then Chaim Eshed, the program manager of the satellite, was in MBT plant, and he phoned me and say, "We see it." But then we had to wait for the procedures of sending messages and getting back messages, and opening the solar panels and opening the telescope. And not before another 2 days we were getting photos. And I remember that it was Friday before noon, and I got the message that the first photo is there. And I went up to the office of the Minister of Defense, of Mr. Rabin, and he was busy in a discussion, and I sent a note to him. There are photos. The first one will get to your hands shortly. And this was what we did, and this was the very, very unique moment of not only having a satellite, but having it working and working properly. What we were aiming at when we took this used satellite and very questionable launchers, we felt that if we had few weeks of performance, of work, it will be good enough for us. But then it worked for years, and it was OFEC 3 was the pioneer of all the rest of the Israeli space program, and the success was something that gave energy to everything that we did ever since.
you.